Hi and welcome back to my channel, Sunshine Lorena. So welcome back. If you are a subscriber, welcome if you're new. If you like my content, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it, that'd be great. So today I'm going to be wrapping up all the books that I've read in April. So this month I read 6 books, which is less than what I've been reading in previous months, over like the last 6 months or so. However, one of these books is pretty big. It was The Stand. I do have a reading vlog up on my channel if you'd like to, go and check it out. So yes, less books, however, page-wise, more or less I've kept on par. So yeah, pretty good month. And yeah, no 5 stars, really struggling with the 5 stars this year for some reason. But I did have a really good reading month and I enjoyed it. So the first book that I read was You Had Me At Hola, and that's by Alexis Daria. And this is a romance novel. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. So it follows 2 main characters. There's Jasmine, and she's just landed a leading role in a Screenflix adaptation of a telenovela. So it's going to be a bilingual programme, thinking along the lines of like kind of Jane the Virgin. And yeah, so she's a leading lady, and she has a leading lady plan because she's been in the tabloids recently to do with the breakup she's had of someone. So she's wanting to kind of stay on track, stay focused, and yes, be leading lady and do really well at her career. Then we also have Ashton, and he is our male lead, and he is, yes, the main male lead against Jasmine in this TV show Carmen in Charge. And he is a telenovela star, and he is wanted to transition into like Hollywood. So this is like his big break to kind of bridge that gap and move into Hollywood. And also in his last telenovela role, he didn't make it to the end, and he always makes it to the end. So he's very kind of paranoid, feels like he's getting old, so he's wanting to try and prove himself. And yeah, I just loved it. I loved the chemistry, how it built between the two of them, and I also really enjoyed the fact that it was kind of like those telenovela vibes. Like, yeah, love a telenovela, so this was just perfect for me. And yeah, so fun. And yes, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think, yeah, great chemistry. It was fun. Yeah, great. And there's apparently a second one in the series coming out later on this year, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Next, I picked up a book that's on one of my 10 classics I want to read in 2021, and that is Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and loved this, loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5. Really great writing, love Jane's writing. And yes, as everyone knows, it follows Lizzie Bennet. She has 5 sisters. Her mother's trying to get them all married off, and Mrs. Bennet is hilarious, loved her. And then we also have Mr. Darcy, who's our main love interest, and yes, classic, enemies to lovers, great. Everyone knows the story, everyone's seen adaptation, absolutely loved it. And I'm so glad I finally actually read a Jane Austen. I tried to read this when I was like younger, and I didn't get very far and put it down. And yeah, I missed out on reading such a great novel before this, so looking forward to picking up more of her works. I have Emma on my list of classics I want to read in 2021, so that'll be the next one. And then I'm gonna read all of her books, honestly, because it's such great writing. And yeah, I don't know if I said this, but 4 out of 5, amazing. I then picked up The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is my first Matt Haig book that I read, and this came out last year in 2020, and I heard a lot of great things about this. So yeah, I decided that I wanted to pick it up and give it a go. So follows Nora, our main character, and yeah, her life hasn't been going great. It's been going from worse to worse essentially, and she gets to a point where she doesn't want to continue living. So this book does have trigger warnings for like suicidal thoughts, etc. So you should definitely check those out. I've trigger warnings is something that you look for in books. But yes, at the stroke of midnight, on her last day of her life, she ends up in this library, the Midnight Library, and essentially there's a librarian there who's guiding her through this whole thing, and she gets to pick up books and kind of live out her regrets. So, you know, she wishes that she had been a better cat mum at one point, and she gets to see the life where she, you know, if she'd kept her cat inside. I mean, that's not the most interesting one. There's a lot more interesting ones with different like dreams and goals about being a musician, about being a swimmer. So she gets to live out those choices that she didn't make, and she gets to see what it's like, and it just kind of gives you that question of which life is actually better to lead, and what makes the perfect life. It was a really great premise that really interested me. I loved the idea of living out regrets and getting to see how that pans out. Yeah, it's a really good book. I gave it 4 out of 5, and I really liked the ending as well. It didn't quite go to the place that I thought it was going to, which I was kind of glad. Can't really say much else without kind of spoiling it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, another 4-star. It's been a very 4-star month in April. Yeah, very, very, very much 4 stars. Then I read the biggest book I've ever read, and that is The Stand by Stephen King. I have a whole reading vlog up on my channel, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. I read this as part of Horror in 24 read along. They're on Instagram if you don't know about them. And yeah, it was to read across 24 days. I read it quicker because it should have went into May now, but I wanted to make sure I finished it and kind of wrapped up in my April reads. And yes, I also listened to the audiobook of this, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. It really helped me get into it at the very beginning, you know, because there's a lot of characters, so it really helped me kind of place each character in my mind. But yeah, I mean, King's books are really great. This is no exception. All I knew about this going into it was that it involved a flu pandemic, and then there was like survivors left over, and it's kind of that story, and that's all I knew. And I'm glad I didn't know anything more, because I really loved where it went. I never got bored, even though there's long descriptions. Yeah, of course there's characters you don't like. It was great seeing how characters changed over the course of the book. You know, yeah, I love the fact that I didn't know that much about it, and I don't want to say too much more, because I think you shouldn't know too much about this before going into it. But the audiobook, definitely, I'd recommend using that. It definitely helped, and it's going to help me tackle other big books that I have on my TBR. Because if I manage this one, which was like 1,300, maybe almost 400 pages, I can pick up those other big books on my TBR because they're not as big as this. But yes, recommend. Another great Stephen King. And then I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid's. This was my second Taylor Jenkins Reid's book. The first one I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I really enjoyed. I read that last year. So yeah, I picked up this one. I got it in a 99p Kindle deal, and also I actually got the audiobook from my library. And yes, I heard great things about the audiobook before going into this, because it's a full cast, and yeah, everyone's right, it's such a great audiobook. I think it really helps that it is a full cast, because each band member obviously is being narrated by someone else. So Daisy Jones and the Six is a band. It is set in like across the 70s mainly, and there's different sections of time. It's just charting kind of their rise to fame and their success, and kind of what happens to them. And yeah, that's all I knew going into it. I did enjoy it. I think the audiobook, okay, I gave it a 4 out of 5. However, I think 1 whole star is definitely in credit to the audiobook, because I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I just read it, because it's done in that interview style, but you don't see the questions the interviewer is like saying, you get the gist of it. So it'll be like Daisy, and then she'll speak about something, and then it'll be another band member or somebody who surrounded them, like managers, etc., producers, and I did enjoy it. I also enjoyed the fact that you got to see the situation from different characters' perspectives. So one will be like, yeah, he wrote the song for me, and that person will be like, no, I never wrote it for her. And it's just seeing how, I don't know, it was really good to see how each person remembers something, because yeah, we always remember things the way we want to remember them. But yeah, no, it was really interesting. There was a bit of a twist in there which I didn't expect, which was the same for the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, so she's really good at putting a twist in there that you just don't expect. So yeah, 4 out of 5, great, enjoyable read. I then read Stephen King's The Institute. I actually started this before The Stand, and I ended up putting it down because I attempted to read both at the same time and it didn't really work for me, because there's quite a few characters in this. This is about 500 pages, and yeah, reading two Stephen Kings at once is not a good idea, because my brain was mixing things up. So that's why I read like The Midnight Library and Daisy Jones and the Six in between. And yes, all I knew about going into this was that it gives off Stranger Things vibes, and it definitely does. Stranger Things vibes is in this. This is one of his newer ones. It's the only new Stephen King book I've read. All the other ones I've read is his kind of all from his backlist. But apparently this gives off the old style King vibes that the new Kings don't, if that makes any sense. I really need to read some new Kings and I'll be able to tell you. But yes, it follows Luke Ellis. He's like this genius kid, really super smart. He's 12 years old and basically he's going to be going to university, college. He's that clever. And yes, he ends up getting kidnapped and taken to the Institute. And in the Institute, they have kids who have telekinesis. There we go. And telepathy powers. And yes, they're getting tested and on and things. So yeah, kids get taken there and kidnapped and they're tested and everything. At the same time, you also have another character, Tim Jameson. He's a former cop and he's ended up in a small town in South Carolina, and he's just working for a local sheriff, and he is also involved in this story. The Institute is in Maine, and that's all I knew. And yeah, it was really great. I loved how he developed his characters. I really enjoyed, mainly this was from kids' perspectives, which, like The Shining, he obviously wrote it from Danny's perspective, from a child's perspective, and he's really good at that. And yeah, for me, this is a 4.5, not quite a 5-star. There's a certain feeling I need to have to get a 5-star. I can't actually explain that, but yes, a certain feeling. And yeah, really great. I recommend this. Really fun. So yeah, I wanted to read 5 Kings this year anyway, and I've read 3 so far, so I'm doing really well on that goal. And yeah, that's it. That's all the books I read in April. And yeah, really good month, as you saw, mainly 4 stars. Actually nothing below 4-star, but no 5s. So it's a pretty great reading month. So yeah, let me know what you read this month. If you've read any of these books that I read, or if you have any recommendations as well for me. And thank you very much. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.